Howdy, welcome to Thursday, July 30th. IB Math, and we're doing the online homework for section 2.2, function notation. All right, if we look at our screen here, we're given two functions and it says to work out the following. So when we have a number written inside the parentheses, that's our input. So we're simply substituting those into the equations and evaluating them and getting the corresponding y value, which is the value of the function. Alrighty, so when we see this, we know we're going to substitute that value into function f. So f, any place where I see an x, I put in a 2. So that's what that notation indicates. It doesn't mean f times 2, which is a common misinterpretation of that. All right, pause the video right now and go ahead and work out these other three and then turn it back on and see how you did. Okay, so here we end up with our solutions. 5, 349, negative 35, and 13. So the whole point of this question was to understand what this notation means. You substitute 6 for all x's. All right, let's take a look at the second part of this question. Now it says to combine these functions. So here we're adding the functions and here we're subtracting the functions. So now all we're going to do is combine like terms. All right, Wranglers. I've highlighted my like terms and now I'm going to combine them. So this f of x, I could rewrite, it's the same as this. So it has a cubic term, it just has 0 as a coefficient, and it's also got a quadratic term, 0 as a coefficient. So nothing is getting added to these, so they're just going to remain the same. Now I've got like terms that are linear, so I've got negative 5 plus negative 2, negative 7, and then I have 1 plus 1, which is 2. All right, now when you're typing these answers in, the answer to be marked correct has to be written in descending powers. So that means like the exponent's going to be going down. 3, 2, that has an exponent of 1. All right, now for the subtraction part. So we're going to take our like terms. So our first one, our cubic term, is going to be x cubed because that's from g. And I'm taking that away, I'm taking nothing from it. So again, that doesn't change. Okay, my quadratic term is going to be 4x squared minus the 0. So that didn't change either. Okay, now my next one, let's see, g of x is first, so it's going to be negative 2x minus negative 5x, so that's negative 2x plus 5, 3x, and then I've got 1 plus or minus 1, which is 0. So then there is there's my difference between those two values. All right, sod busters, let's take a look at question 2. This function is defined by, here's our equation for our function. But if you look at it, the coefficient on x we don't know, and the constant we don't know. All right, now a and b represent numbers. That's what's meant by the word constant. A number in front of a variable is called a coefficient. All right, so we want to figure out what A and B are, and we're given this information. Okay, now what this is telling you is this is the input or the x coordinate, and this is the output or the y coordinate. All right, this symbol f of x is the same as a y. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this 7 and I'm going to put it in for that entire symbol. I'm going to take this 0, and every place that I see an x, I'm going to write 0, and then I'm going to see if I can solve that equation. You can solve an equation when it has just one variable. Alrighty, so let's take a look at what happens here. So I'm going to have, instead of f of x, I'm going to have 7 0 squared plus a, and I put a 0 in for that x, plus b. Now what's going to happen is that a is going to get eliminated because it's being multiplied by 0, and now I have my b value. B is equal to 7. All right, bushwhackers, now to get the rest of this, okay, we're now going to take these values. That's our x value. That is our f of x value, which is the same as our y. So 17 goes in for f of x. And -2 goes in for every instance that we see a x. So I'm going to have -2 squared plus a times -2, and now where I see the letter b, I'm going to put in 7. This only has one variable, so we can isolate that variable and solve it. And there's the coefficient for our linear term, -3. So when you have a quadratic, the term that is a square is called the quadratic term. The term that has x to the first on it is called the linear term. And then the term that doesn't have a variable on it is called the constant. So now we have a full description of what f of x is. F of x is equal to x squared minus 3x plus 7. Now it's asking you to find x when f of x is equal to 35. Okay, so what this is asking us to get is what x value creates an output of 35. Alrighty, you greenhorns. Now to figure out what the output is going to be, we're going to take what the input's going to be, we're going to take this output and replace it for f of x and then solve that resulting equation. So we want to get this set to 0 and then find out what the roots are that make the resulting quadratic a 0. Okay, city slickers, so what we're going to do next now, we've got it set equal to 0, and we're going to fill in we're going to ask ourselves, what two numbers multiply together to be negative 28 and add together to be negative 3? All right, so if I take a negative 7 and a positive 4, those multiply to be 28 and they add together to be negative 3. So those are the two numbers that we're going to use to break this quadratic up and find out its roots. So now we can rewrite this as x minus 7 and x plus 4, and then we set those equal to 0, and I get one solution is x equals 7. And then my other possibility is x is equal to negative 4. All right, that takes care of function notation, the online homework. Now you all skedaddle, do that online assignment and submit it. Make sure you hit mark it, and I'll see you yonder tomorrow. I'm heading over to the bunkhouse, get me some Z's.